Hello, everybody. Good Sunday afternoon, March 31st, 2019. You know those TV dinners that you buy at the store that have Salisbury steak in it, turkey dressing, chicken, you name it, they've got it nowadays. Now, I'm going to make an attempt to make a TV dinner from scratch. I'm going to make Salisbury steak, mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese. I'm going to make a dessert as well. So I want you to stay tuned for more. All right, welcome back, everybody. It's been quite a while since I've made Salisbury steak, but I don't think I've ever made it the way I'm going to here in just a minute. Now, there's so many versions of recipes on Salisbury steak, so I'm going to try to come up with one of my own, and then I'll be using that as long as I live. Now, here in this bowl, I've got 2 pounds of hamburger meat. I got the 75-25%. 75% lean, 25% fat. And to that, I'm going to add 2 eggs. This is about like making a meatloaf. I'm going to add some salt. So this is also like making spaghetti and meatballs. I'm going to have some onion powder in here. We're going to have some flavor, some garlic powder, some black pepper, if you can make meatloaf, then you can make this. Some Worcestershire sauce. And excuse me for stirring at the end. I'm trying to get over a headache. I get those headaches every now and then, and I'm sure that you do too. All right, I'll say about a couple tablespoons. Now, I'm going to stir that in. I always like to stir in the ingredients first before I add the breadcrumbs. As I said, it's about like making meatloaf. I want to use clean hands. All right, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some dry breadcrumbs. Now the egg, along with the dry breadcrumbs, are going to hold it together and going to provide moisture. I say probably about 1 cup should do. One thing that you don't want to overdo, one thing that you don't want to do, you don't want to overdo the mixture. Okay? Everything's just about incorporated. I'll say that this mixture will make about 8 to 10 Salisbury steaks. Now, all right, now it's ready to go. And so what you want to do, you want to form them into like a hamburger patty. And you want to let them cook a couple of minutes per side. I say about 2 minutes. No more than that, because they're going to cook for about 45 minutes to an hour by the time it's all said and done when I put the beef broth in. And I'll show you that here in just a second. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to keep making these. I'm going to brown these 2 minutes per side till I get all of them brown. So I want you to stay tuned for the next step. All right, everybody. I browned all the steaks the patties that I'm going to make for Salisbury steak. Now, they don't have to be perfectly done at this point. And you can tell that this one is not all the way done. And it's starting to fall apart, but that's okay because it'll still be eaten. Notice here that I got all these bits and pieces here at the bottom. Don't discard that because that's going to make some good gravy later on. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some beef broth in this pan. And I come up with about 14 of these patties. Now, I'm using unsalted beef broth. You can use low sodium. That way, you can control the salt. So, I'm going to put just a little bit of salt in here, probably about a teaspoon or so. And I'm going to add some onion powder to it. Let me get my whisk. And what you would want to do is get the bits and pieces scraped up from the bottom. Now I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit. I'm going to put these patties back in there. And by the way, I've said and I've said it. When you're handling raw meat, please wash your hands every time so you won't get sick or make anybody else sick. I'm going to put these back in here. I'm going to try to cram all 14 of them in here. Let me get some tongs or something. I think I should be okay by doing this. My hands are clean. Now the gravy is going to be good with mashed potatoes I'm going to be fixing. But I'm not going to thicken it up at this point. Just about got all of it in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cover this and let it cook for about 45 minutes to an hour. About a medium low temperature. So I want you to stay tuned. I'm going to be cooking a couple of more things to go along with our TV dinner. All right, everybody, welcome back. You can tell that my Salisbury steaks are cooking, and I'm going to reduce that down to a simmer. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cobbler. It's a fruit cocktail cobbler. Now, I don't know if I've ever heard of such a thing or not. I've heard of peach cobbler, apple cobbler, pear cobbler, cherry cobbler. I can go on and on and on. But not a fruit cocktail cobbler, as far as I know. So if there's not such thing, then I think I'll be the first one to come up with it. Now, this is about like making a peach cobbler. In here, I've already got 1 cup of self-rising flour and probably about ½ cup brown sugar. Now, in here, what I did, you want to get you a rectangular glass pan like this. I melted about 1/4 cup of butter in a microwave, unsalted butter, and I poured it in this dish. It's about 13 by 9. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more things here. I'm going to add some allspice, about a teaspoon or so, nutmeg, cinnamon. If I didn't mention a half cup or so brown sugar, then it's in there too. All right. Okay, then I'm going to add about a cup of milk. Combine it all very, very well. And then I'm going to pour it right here in the pan. Make sure you get every bit of it. Excuse me. All right. Now, heat up just a little bit more. Okay. Now, 2 cans of fruit cocktail or mixed fruit. It's got this one right here. It's got peaches, pears, and grapes. There's some of them out there you can get cherries in them as well. Okay, I'm just going to pour this whole thing in here. Okay. Make sure that the fruit is evenly distributed. All right. Like I said, I'll probably be the first one to come up with it if no one out there has ever heard of a fruit cocktail cobbler. All right, everything is evenly distributed. I've got my oven preheated to 350, and when that goes off, I'm going to put it in the oven, and I'm going to bake it around about 40 to 45 minutes until it's good and golden brown, and I can't wait to sample it for you. So I want you to stay tuned. I've got some more things coming up. All right, everybody, welcome back. My Salisbury steaks are coming along really, really good. I've got my fruit cocktail cobbler in the oven, and what I'm doing now, I'm making macaroni and cheese. Now, this time I'm using these medium pasta shells like that. You can use macaroni, whatever you got on hand. I'm using 1/2 pound of the shells. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank this down. I've melted a 1/4 cup of butter, unsalted butter. I've got a 1/4 cup of flour. Stirring around like that. Give the flour time to cook. I got some onion powder in there. And I'm going to use garlic powder. Now, I'm not using salt because by the time I put the cheddar cheese in there, that will be my salt. Okay? I'll probably use some black pepper. Now, I may not use all of this for the macaroni and cheese. And what I don't use, I'll make broccoli and cheese. You know those TV dinners, they have different kinds of vegetables in there. They'll have green beans, some will have corn, carrots, whatever. Well, you know, I think I've got some frozen broccoli in the freezer. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use that. I'm going to make broccoli and cheese. Best TV dinner I've ever had. All right, now, what I'm going to do now is, here in just a minute, I'm going to drain the macaroni or the pasta shells, whatever that you want to use. But I'm going to add 2 cups of milk to this. This is almost like making gravy and biscuits. Matter of fact, I've had several people who has asked me when am I going to make a southern breakfast. Well, who knows? Probably in the near future, good Lord willing. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video. This is going to thicken up. I'm going to drain the macaroni. And then I'm going to add the shredded cheddar cheese to that once that has thickened up. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next. So I want you to stay tuned. All right, everybody, my cheese sauce is done. I want you to take a look at it before I join you at my counter in the kitchen. And that is perfect. That is the consistency that you want right there. Okay? So I want you to stay tuned. I want you to come and join me at my kitchen counter. All right, everybody, I'm just about 10 minutes away from cooking, from having the Salisbury steaks done. Now, what I did was I turned them about halfway of cooking time, and then the broth was starting to evaporate out of the skillet, so I added a little bit more. Now, keep an extra box of beef broth if you don't mind, and that way everything will turn out just perfect. Well, you know what I mean, the best you can. All right, the macaroni and cheese. Everything's done. Let me pour some of this in here. Mix it around. Like I said, I'm going to use the rest of it for broccoli and cheese. That's going to be good. Now, if you wanted to, if you have a big family, or if you want to take it to a church gathering or something, you could use the whole pound box of macaroni and combine all this together. All right, it's good enough. I got a casserole dish that I have buttered, and I'm going to put all of it in here. And in the end, I'm going to add a little more sauce because I don't want this to dry up. All right. I'm making a mess, but that's okay. All right. I'm going to put this in the oven, 350, for about 25 minutes or so. And it's going to be good and golden brown. So I want you to stay tuned for more. All right, everybody, welcome back. 45 minutes to an hour have passed, and my Salisbury steaks are done. I want you to look. They look really, really good. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm making the gravy. Now, I took these out, and you're going to need about 3 cartons of beef broth to get the dish to where it needs to be. Now, what I did was I added another carton of beef broth. And what I'm doing is I'm just scraping the bits off the bottom of it. And what I did was I took some of it out of the carton. You want it cold. And I took a couple of tablespoons of flour, and I made what you call slurry. Now, this slurry, I may not use all of this. I'll probably use half of it. It's going to help make the gravy. It's going to thicken it. Okay? Now, let's see what it does. notice that it is starting to thicken up. You want to stir this constantly. You do not want to leave and talk on the phone or whatever. You catch my drift. I think that's one of my favorite sayings around where I live and work. You can catch my drift. Some of you probably know what I'm talking about too. Alright. You want to constantly stir it. I got some mushrooms and onions sauteing on the stove and some olive oil and butter, and I'm going to put in here as well. Now, if you've got picky eaters at your house like I do, that's the reason why I'm waiting to the very end. Is that way they can scrape off the mushrooms and onions. Okay. I got a little bit more in there because I want it to be thick, not really, really thick. But I want it to form a nice gravy. Okay. Say about a couple tablespoons of flour to 1 cup of cold liquid. And it is thickening very nicely. Now, if you don't like all of these lumps, you can strain it. Alright. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of these in here, and my Salisbury steaks are done. So, I'm going to put on some potatoes, make mashed taters. So, I want you to stay tuned. I'm going to have everything together. Alright, everybody. Everything's just about ready. I just put on the potatoes to make mashed potatoes, but I'm going to cut this video short because I am getting hungry. Now, you can tell that the Salisbury steaks have turned out really, really good. I think I've made a little bit too much gravy, but that's okay. It'll go good on the mashed potatoes as well as on the Salisbury steak. My macaroni and cheese here turned out really, really good. And look at this fruit cocktail cobbler. Oh my goodness, that looks really good. And this broccoli and cheese. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample the Salisbury steak, and I'm going to sample this fruit cocktail cobbler for you. Alright, everybody. I got me a piece of Salisbury steak. Now, I've topped mine with mushrooms as well as some onion. And I'm going to sample for you. I've already said a blessing. It looks incredibly good. And it is hot. Give me just a second here. This is a whole lot better than what you buy at the store. Those at the store, they're okay, but I like homemade is better. The fruit cocktail cobbler. I'm just amazed and thankful how both of these have turned out. Amazing. The grapes, the pears, the peaches, and the fruit cocktail. I think this is another thing to go down in the books. For me, anyway. Alright. It's time for me to go. Thanks for watching. Comments are welcome. Keep subscribing. Have a blessed Sunday afternoon.